Hello and welcome to RiffScript presents All Fingers and Thumbs. In today's episode, we are going to talk about something that fascinates both of us, and we've been into films since a very long time, and we always wanted to talk about films and talk about various aspects of filmmaking. And so today's episode is going to be very fun and special as well. So can you brief us a little, Pallav?
Yeah, so movies are something that we, as you mentioned, we have been seeing for many time and we love it. We love seeing movies. But whenever I see a movie, I don't go into details of it. Right? For example, ये scene क्या represent करता है या ये scene क्या कहना चाहता है. It's just like you watch a movie on you. If it's not film or always you want to, engage into it and then you want to read each and every scene. But कोई भी ऐसी normal सी film होती है, entertaining होती है, तो उसमें हम नहीं देखते. बट वो देखना भी एक टैलेंट है उसमें से एक स्टोरी निकालना कि ये सीन क्या कहना चाहता है ये मूवी क्या कहना चाहता है ये एक फ्रेम क्या कहना चाहता है मूवी का राइट सो दैट्स समथिंग विच ओनली फ्यू पीपल कैन डू वो फ्रेम शायद उसमें कुछ अच्छा ही बोल सकती है इट कैन बी एडवांटेजेस फॉर द फिल्म एज वेल इट कैन बी अ फ्लॉ फॉर द फिल्म एज वेल सो ये चीज डिपिक्ट करना ये चीज हम लोगों को स्टडी करना ये बड़ा ही मुझे अच्छा लगता है मैं काफी इंस्टाग्राम और हर जगह पे स्क्रॉल करता रहता हूँ बहुत लोग ये सब डालते रहते हैं इवन यूट्यूब वीडियोस भी डालते हैं इसके
Yeah.
तो कभी कभी देख लेते हैं हम तो हमें इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है वो चीज़ लेकिन उसके ऊपर बात करना is another thing and I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about it that how a person can read films
Yeah,
that's
right.
something which is yeah review तो बहुत लोग करते हैं but read that's something different
मैं
so उसके
एक्चुअली
लिए ही आ जाओ
हाँ, मैं
yeah
एक्चुअली यही सोच रहा था कि इंडिया में क्रिटिक्स हर चीज के बहुत है। मतलब हम लोग ऐसे ही बैठ के मतलब हमने भी बहुत बार किया है ना कि हम थिएटर में अगर
correct
बैठे
yeah
हैं और कोई सीन चल रहा हो तो अगर यहाँ पर ये शॉट अच्छा नहीं, यहाँ पर ये शॉट अच्छा नहीं, वो ऐसा बोलते रहते हैं। लेकिन बहुत कम लोग होते हैं जो फिल्म्स को बहुत ही मतलब उसके अलग अलग, भले ही उन्होंने खुद खुद कुछ भी बनाया हो ना बनाया हो, लेकिन वो समझ हो ना आर्ट के बारे में कि किस तरह से वो बनना चाहिए या फिर किस तरह से हो रहा है। और सिर्फ क्रिटिक करना
correct
नहीं, उसको अलग अलग मतलब सेम डायरेक्टर हो तो उसकी अलग अलग फिल्म्स में कंपैरिजन करना, अलग अलग सीन्स को कंपेयर करके दिखाना कि देखो ये यहाँ पर ये रिप्रेजेंट करा, इसका भी सटल मीनिंग ये हो सकता है वैसा, तो वो देखने का नजरिया थोड़ा अलग रहता है। और when I was
हाँ
scrolling just like you, when I was scrolling through various Instagram pages, I came across this page called Reading Films, and I was quite fascinated with the way that person behind the page curated the content. He compares a lot of scenes from various movies. He compares same similar kind of scenes from the same director and also from different directors, and he tries to portray films in a very aesthetical manner and very fascinating. It becomes very fascinating for a user, for a user to go through his feed and then get interested in that particular movie. When
yeah
we
that's
see such
correct
things, we get interested, we get intrigued, and we want to watch that
अरे
movie, we
अरे
want to
अरे
understand.
ऐसा भी हुआ था
ऐसा
yeah
होता है।
it just happens like this
तो आज के जो हमारे गेस्ट है वो, उनका नाम है पंकज सचदेव। ही राइट्स ब्लॉग्स, और उन्होंने फिर 2020 में या 21 में ऐसे ही स्टार्ट किया, क्योंकि ब्लॉग्स जो है अभी लोग ज्यादा पढ़ना इतना पसंद नहीं करते क्योंकि थोड़ा लॉन्ग फॉर्म कंटेंट है, उसके कंपैरिजन में
correct
इंस्टाग्राम इज क्वाइट इजी फॉर यंगर जनरेशन। तो उन्होंने ऐसे स्टार्ट किया और नाउ ही हैज रीच्ड ओवर 5000 फॉलोअर्स, एंड वो बहुत ही अच्छे से अपना मतलब उनका पेज अच्छे से ग्रो हो रहा है, लोगों को इंटरेस्ट भी आ रहा है। तो हमने सोचा कि उनको बुलाते हैं, उनके साथ बातें करते हैं, तो हमें भी ज्यादा पता
बिल्कुल
चलेगा कि वो कैसे फिल्म्स को रीड करते हैं। एंड बाय द वे, देयर इज वन मोर थिंग अबाउट हिम। उन्होंने ही इज सो फैसिनेटेड, ही इज सो इंट्रिग्ड बाय द फिल्म दिल चाहता है। ही रोट अ whole a whole book on website, in the form of website, where he analyzed each and every character, each and every scene, each and every song, and he wrote the whole book. So we would like to know more about his journey into films and his way of depicting things. So let's welcome him and let's get to know more.
sure yeah
Uh, Hello.
Hello.
Uh,
hello hi
Hi, Jainish.
Hi Pankaj, welcome to our episode.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, we were
That's
talking about this, that we are so intrigued by films. Whenever we are, we in our college days, we used to go to theaters every now and then, and whenever there is a shot that fascinates us, we instantly used
mm,
to talk about it even when the film is running. So we are
Right.
always intrigued. And when we came across your profile, it was quite intriguing for me. And so this is Pallav. He's in the USA,
I
and he's our co-host for this series. And welcome. Thank you
yeah.
for
Hi
joining us.
Pankaj.
Hi, Pallav. Very nice to meet you as well.
Very nice to meet you too.
Right, right. Okay.
Yeah. So हम वही बात कर रहे थे. We were talking about you wrote a book, right? That we just read. Like we just read somewhere that you wrote a book on your bio or something. And Dil Chahta Hai. It's a film. We like that film. I watched it many times. So but उसके ऊपर book लिखना like on a movie. So what's so interesting about Dil Chahta Hai कि आपको लगा कि I should write a book on it.
और उसमें 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 एक फैसिनेटिंग चीज मुझे ये लगी कि मैंने उसका इंडेक्स जब देखा, मैंने बहुत सारे पेजेस देखे उसके, लेकिन जब इंडेक्स देखा तब आपने उसमें हर एक कैरेक्टर का पहले तो स्टडी किया हुआ है, फिर सॉन्ग्स का भी स्टडी किया हुआ है, फिर अलग अलग जो
Yeah.
इम्पोर्टेंट सीन्स या कुछ हो जहां से स्टोरी में ट्विस्ट या टर्न आ रहा हो, वो सब भी आपने अच्छे से डिस्क्राइब किया हुआ है. तो व्हाट्स दिस फैसिनेशन विद दिल चाहता है.
Yeah, okay. So, I watched Dil Chahta Hai when, I was in like 14, 15 years of age, like it released that time only. And those years are like those years when you're growing up, the films you watch at that point somehow stay with you all the time.
या
तो उस टाइम जब मैंने देखी थी ये फिल्म, I have never seen a film like this before. It was so different from the other Hindi films that were being made at that point in time. It was so, like, just in terms of the colors and the cinematography and the characters, it wasn't like loud, and there was a certain class to that film, and so different. And the hairstyles, the costumes, the characters. And if I would have seen the same film today, I would have loved it, but maybe we would forget it after 2 3 years. But because I watched that film at that point in time, and it had stayed with me all through the years, and उसमें मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें सीखी how to actually watch films. So उसमें ना एक scene है, डिम्पल कपाड़िया who plays Tara, and then Akshay Khanna who plays Sid. उसमें वो
Mm.
painting, that scene of the painting, if you remember, वो उसके घर जाती है, and then she sees him through his paintings, right? वो बोलती है आंखें बंद हैं, right? And gate is like
Closed.
they closed, and the box is so tightly locked, like nobody can see what is inside them. So that scene is one of my all-time favorite scenes in films. And that is actually what taught me how to, even like I started my writing my blog and this reading films account on Instagram. That's what I try to do, because that film influenced me so much that art can teach you things even without saying anything explicitly. Just it's so beautiful that she's read somebody through their painting, and then he's so shocked, if you remember that scene, that
या
how could he not fall in love with somebody, उसके friends जो उसको 20 25 साल से जानते होंगे, they don't know. But that lady, she just read him through his work in like 2 3 minutes. And so that's why, just that, and that film was so special to me, when I was growing up. And it's just so nicely done, the characters. And growing up, I was a very shy sort of a person. I didn't have many friends, that sort of a thing. And when you see somebody, living the kind of life you wish, okay, wish I had that kind of life, the rich people with having friends and that. So that was the reason this film just influenced me so much. And that's why I just wanted to write a lot on it, like just as a thank you to it, that it's a very special film for me personally, because it was just so different at that point in time. So I tried to write it, like I've been writing on it for the last I thought I'll write like a longer piece, like an essay type of a thing. Like I used to write I have different pieces on my blog. Like I'll write about a song, like Tanhai pe I wrote something, and that Kaisi hai ye wrote that song, I wrote something. But I thought like maybe I could write a longer piece. But then I was like, okay, let me write a book itself. It might not be like proper 200, 300 pages, but I'll just compile what I've all written. So I started in 2015, but never got that inclination, ki karu na karu, and then things, life gets busy and all. But at the back of my mind, I always wanted to do this. But then finally, this COVID hit, and then it was like you saw your friends and all. Everybody was, people lost their lives and all. So at that point in time, we could realize, what if something happens, and at least I want to leave this legacy behind. Like at least even if nobody reads it, I just want to get it done. So that's why I just last year I decided, okay, I'll write this book, even though nobody reads it at all. So I decided to self-publish it. So yeah, it's on my website. Like I'm not a famous person. Like that's why nobody has approached me, like these publishing companies and all, because I'm very realistic about my chances. I'm not like a big shot author or even a famous critic by any chance. So I decided to just write this book last year.
Wow. So I always believe this, what you said, the idea of death is the key motivator behind every single person's life. हमें जब ये पता चलता है ना कि अगर हमारे पास कल नहीं हो तो हम क्या करेंगे, तब हम सबसे ज्यादा अच्छे से काम करते हैं.
Right, absolutely. And last year, this time only, it was that second wave was just starting and all. And it was like very, very difficult time for everybody. So I just decided, okay, like I'll get it done. Like, so it wasn't easy, but somehow I did it. In my day job, I have a very different day job. So like when I used to come home at work every day for like 3-4 months, every day I wrote something and like finished and compiled. So but I was just so happy when it got done. And another reason was the book was completing 20
Movie
not the
was
book, the
completing
movie is
20.
completing 20 years. So I had a
Correct.
mental target that okay, I have to put it out by that August 10th when its release date was coming.
Wow. So I think
Wow,
you
that's
can
it.
you can approach Excel movies with the content that you are putting out.
I think Farah Akhtar would be happy that someone wrote about Dil Chahta Hai that much.
Yeah,
It was his first film, right? So
right,
as a
right,
director, yeah. So it
right,
would be special for him as well.
So how, I
right.
mean, my question is, how did you come about in I mean, how did you come to know that you are quite other than Dil Chahta Hai, how did you come to know that you are fascinated by films and you want to write about things and you wanted to start a blog? How did you come about it?
Mhm. Uh, so it was, like, I mean, when we grow, I mean, I'm sure it might be similar for you as well. We are exposed to films when we grow up so much, like, at home, ghar pe and all, like we have TVs, like whatever. So I used to watch normally films and all the, like everybody does. But then I always wanted to be a writer, not like a film like writer on like writing stories or those sort of films, but I just always wanted to write about different things. So in 2009 2007 actually, I started my blog, which is called Dichotomy of Irony, when I was in college. It was like 15 years ago. So like, and I used to write normal things about random issues or my personal life and that sort of, and a little bit about films. But in 2012, like I used to write about films like for 3-4 years, but I just wanted, whenever I used to watch a film, I used to see certain these small things, these patterns, these motifs, this symbolism. And I just felt, that not many people were doing that. And a lot of people do notice those things. It's just that the writing at that point, nobody was, putting it out. So I just decided, like I'll just write what I saw in the film, because I want to put it out like, okay, I'm not imagining things. Maybe other people, would have seen this. So in 2002, more seriously, starting 2012, so I'd written something on a piece on Savaria, which is one of my favorite films. How the blue colors are there in that film, and the difference, its cinematography, it's very beautiful. So that piece, somebody just put it out on Twitter, and then it got slightly more retweets and whatever. Not viral, I would say, but I had hardly any followers, like 10, 15, but then it got like 200, 300 retweets at that point in time. So after that, I just started and I grew up a little. So I'm still in US. So I came up. I started writing like just on films, like the kind of things that I wanted to see. And then slowly and slowly I developed like a tiny audience, who now comes back to my posts and they want to read what I saw differently in films. So, as you asked me as well, like I don't really write like reviews as such, because I'm not a critic, and as such, because I don't have any professional training, or I don't know a lot about the nuances of filmmaking, or even some of the normal things that critics do write, like the political aspects of it. I just try to write, what I saw and how I connected with it, and the small, small things like different patterns or metaphors in the film. And that's how like I just continue to write over it and like iterate over it, and just have built a very, very tiny. Or again, I'm saying I don't have like crazy number of followers. If you see, there are so many other, other popular writers and all. But then what happened, like starting, like I just felt people have moved on from blogs. They've just, Instagram has come up and Twitter has come up, threads and all. So I just wanted to see, maybe if I put something there, it just gets so many likes, but when I put something on my blog, nobody reads it. So that's how I got the idea. Okay, maybe I'll put something on Instagram as well. So that's how that my other account, reading films, I just started. But yeah, I always wanted to write and just put out these small, small things, and a lot of people are interested in those kind of things. So yeah, that's about it.
But do you find it difficult to, from comparing to it to the blog form, because it's a long form and you have no limits when it comes to blogs, but you have limits when it comes to Twitter, because there is 280 characters only, and when it comes to Instagram, you are always afraid of people not reading your stuff because it gets longer and longer. So do you find it difficult to navigate between these two forms?
Yes, definitely. I think it's a challenge. So the thing with Instagram is that if you put a photograph, that's self-explanatory. It it'll go, like a lot of people will like it, even if you don't explain anything, right? If you just put a picture, it works there. But the thing with that is like Instagram, you can't put everything, your entire thoughts. And like a lot of people have started putting, if you follow Humans of Cinema or other accounts, they put these pictures and then they write it there. But I just, firstly, like I don't have that much time to create every post for every day. So I just put a snippet at the bottom, but I'm trying to improve there as well. But yes, it's a challenge, because blog, you could put so many things about the film, and a lot of challenge. But what I try to do is put multiple posts of a film on Instagram. And the other thing is Instagram is very heavy on reels. If you want to gain
Yeah.
followers, you have to make reels, or stories. And the thing with reels is that I just don't feel comfortable because of copyright issues, because they could suspend your account anytime. So I don't make any video reels. And Twitter also, I don't put any video stuff. So I put photographs. Photographs are of course acceptable, and then I try to put either a narrative description. And let's say if I have 5 things to write, I'll write 5 posts on 5 different days. And I, selectively choose, okay, which one would make more sense that people would like it. And then I give a link. Okay, then if you want to read more, you can come up here. But I know not many people come to it, and it's absolutely fine. Nobody has enough time, but while scrolling Instagram, they just have to click one like or whatever. That's much more easier. So yes, it's a challenge. I'm still navigating through it. I try to learn from all these big accounts how they have created, this audience, these stories. Of course, I can't do everything else, but hopefully I'll get better at those things as well.
मतलब
Yeah, I mean,
इंस्टाग्राम की वजह से वो ग्राफिक डिजाइन का फिर ज्यादा
Right.
फोटो एडिटिंग, ग्राफिक डिजाइन फिर ज्यादा इम्पैक्टफुल हो जाता है. मतलब
Right,
मैंने भी
right.
I've read I've wrote 2-3 blogs on various films. I mean मैंने
Right.
अक्टूबर के ऊपर लिखा है, फिर राम प्रसाद की 13वीं, और
Right.
एक मैंने म्यूजिक का क्या इम्पैक्ट होता है, म्यूजिक और रिदम का
Right.
हमारे साइकोलॉजी पर, उसके ऊपर लिखा था. तो ब्लॉग के ऊपर क्या होता है कि अगर आप लिखने बैठते हो ना, तो आपको पता भी नहीं चलता कि 1000 वर्ड्स 1500
Right.
वर्ड्स इजीली हो गए. लेकिन
Correct.
जब आप किसी को भेजते हो, अगर आपके फ्रेंड्स को या रिलेटिव्स को भी भेजते हो कि आप ये पढ़ो, तो 1000 वर्ड्स 1500 वर्ड्स टू
It's
मच फॉर देम,
intimidating.
टू मच
Yeah,
फॉर देम.
yeah, yeah,
तो
yeah.
उसकी वजह से
Yeah.
फिर क्या हो रहा है कि अभी मैंने खुद को ही, मतलब जैसे आपने चेंज किया ना, कि शिफ्ट किया, वैसे मैंने
Right,
खुद
right.
भी ट्विटर पर 280 कैरेक्टर्स में लिखना स्टार्ट किया, और फिर उसको
Right.
मैं इमेज के फॉर्म में इंस्टाग्राम पे रखता हूँ,
Right.
ताकि
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the problem with that is कि मैंने भी मूवी रिव्यूज लिखना स्टार्ट किया था. मूवी शेरशाह, मुझे लगा कि क्योंकि मैं उसके साथ मैं मूवी देखा और मैं लगा कि मैं देखते देखते लिखना स्टार्ट करूंगा कि इस सीन में क्या लगा. बट
Right.
आई फाउंड दैट वेरी बोरिंग कि लोग कैसे करते हैं. मतलब या तो मैं यहाँ कॉन्सेंट्रेट कर पाऊँ यहाँ पे.
Right.
तो मैंने पूरा मूवी देख लिया. देन आई थॉट कि मैं बहुत कुछ लिखना चाहता हूँ, पर लिखूंगा क्या, कहाँ पे लिखूंगा, कौन पढ़ेगा, क्या पढ़ेगा. तो मैं ट्विटर पे जाके थोड़ा लिखता हूँ. बट ट्विटर पे क्या होता है कि 280 कैरेक्टर ज्यादा लिख नहीं पाते, तो यू हैव टू थिंक कि कितना लिखना है.
Right.
बट द सेम थिंग कि आपने एक इंस्टाग्राम में पोस्ट डाल दिया आपके रीडिंग फिल्म्स के पेज पे,
Mm-hmm.
तो व्हेन आई सी दैट, फॉर एग्जांपल गहराई या मूवी है, या किसी फॉर एग्जांपल गंगूबाई काठियावाड़ी, ऑल दिस मूवीज, सो यू रिलेटिंग इट टू, फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने पोस्ट डाला गुजारिश, आई थिंक एक आपने सीन दिखाया था.
Right.
हाँ.
सो आई हैव नॉट सीन बोथ द फिल्म्स, बट आई नो कि क्या मैसेज हो सकता है उसके अंदर. सो वो देखते ही पता चल जाता है कि हाँ इसका
Right.
रिलेशन ये है. सो इट बिकम्स सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी, द फोटोग्राफ. जब आप लिखने बैठोगे तो नॉट एवरीवन इज अ रीडर, राइट.
Right.
आप पढ़ेंगे नहीं, राइट.
Right.
वीडियोस एंड फोटोज आर नाउ समथिंग विच की लोग कोई बोल रहा है सुन लेंगे, या फिर आपने फोटो डाला. सो दैट्स रियली ग्रेट. वही
Right.
आप मैं देखना चाहता हूँ कि आपने दो सीन को कंपेयर किया हुआ है यहाँ पे. तो आप हाउ डू यू गेट इनटू दैट थिंग, राइट, दैट यू रिमेम्बर कि ओह 10 साल पहले ये फिल्म आई थी, उसमें भी ये था, इस फिल्म में भी ये है. Now, हाँ ये कैसे आप कर
Yeah.
सकते हैं?
Yeah. So I like it doesn't come naturally to me. Like 4-5 years, like even 5-6 years ago, um, like when somebody put these kinds of posts, like if I read something, I used to wonder how did they think about it? How did I miss this thing? So I have consciously developed it, like firstly by watching things more closely, and then again, I have a lot of screenshots. Whenever I watch a film, I try to take screenshots of the scenes that I like. What happens is, I also, whenever I watch a movie, I try to read all the reviews about the film. Like, kuch bhi hoga, I'll try to read about it. And then, what used to happen is I would learn or pick up things which I missed. And what happens is the next time I watch another movie, right, you could apply those things that you missed in a different context in that same film. Like, okay, that let's say I saw this, somebody spoke about, like it was very long ago, how there are different, there was, I still remember that, in Tanu Eds Manu Returns, there was this article by this journalist. She just randomly made this statement that, Tanu ke na baal, when she's in India, uske baal khule hain. And when she's in London, this is a sequel, uske na baal, they are tied. So, she just made a random observation that, perhaps it's, like she's much, much more free in front of her family. London, where she got stuck. I don't know if it was intended or not intended, but you pick up these things, and then maybe I thought I could apply this learning to some other thing. So yes, so it's just like, firstly, also a little bit of good memory also helps. So you have to remember the things
Yeah.
very consciously, and especially like about your favorite filmmakers. So I try to watch films of my favorite filmmakers, whenever I'm feeling like while having dinner, or whenever I'm feeling bored, instead of watching new film, I sometimes just, when I have 15-20 minutes, you watch that old film. So that just builds up your memory of that scene. But if it's a filmmaker, like let's say whom I don't watch that often, if he built something again, it might not come easily. So it's just that, just maybe watching it again and remembering things and just learning from different things. So I don't know if you saw, Cobalt Blue का trailer आया था अभी. It's not released yet. Cobalt Blue was written by Sachin Kundalkar. Netflix पे आनी थी in December, but its trailer got postponed. And then he's the same guy who made the film Aya, and Aya is one of my favorite films. So in that 2 minute trailer, he put this um, sequence of a boy who's running with his feet in colors. And then Aya had the same thing in that song, Mehek Pi Kahani Sunati Hai, if Sun Lo Agar, something like that. So it's and it's such a beautiful song, and then I listen to it all the time, and then the same thing is coming up. You obviously will remember, right? Oh, this, you've seen it so many times. So yeah, it's just a little bit of watching things more closely, taking a little bit of notes and screenshots, and just reading a bit. I think that these three things have helped me to watch things more closely. And I still miss so many details when I read, somebody by Bharadwaj Rangan. You might be knowing, he's the film critic. He writes so beautifully on films, and he picks up these so many things. And when I read his reviews, I feel like, how did I miss this? This was so obvious, So I want to reach that level at some point. But yeah, that's how.
but art चीज ही ऐसी है ना, मतलब art is so subjective. Any मतलब
Right.
हम तीन लोग एक साथ मूवी देखने बैठेंगे, फिर भी हम तीनों अलग
We all
अलग
have
व्यूज पिक
three,
करेंगे.
right? Yes,
पर
yes.
जो न्यूआंसेस अगर कोई क्रिटिक भी न्यूआंसेस लेकर उनके बारे में लिखते हैं, जैसे या आप भी जैसे रिव्यू नहीं लिखते, लेकिन आपने जो भी पिकअप किया आप लिख रहे हो, तो उससे कंफ्यूजन नहीं रहता है. मतलब मुझे हमेशा एक क्वेश्चन रहता है कि अगर हमने न्यूआंसेस को कैप्चर किया है, तो मतलब हम इतने अच्छे ऑब्जर्वर है, या फिर एक्चुअल में डायरेक्टर इज जीनियस,
Right,
जिन्होंने
right, yeah.
जिन्होंने ये सब क्योंकि हमें तो पता नहीं कि उन्होंने कॉन्शियसली बनाया है या
Played,
फिर
yeah, right,
इट जस्ट it was just created like that, and he
right,
picked up
right,
these clues.
right, right.
तो
So that, go ahead.
no, continue.
So I was just saying, that question I get a lot, is it intended? Did the director really mean it? Firstly, like, if I feel like if there is a repeat pattern, right, then it's definitely intended, right? Just like, take the example of, I'll give an example, recent example only. Like, if you see in Imtiaz Ali films, he has this love for mountains, So जैसे गीत, जब भी मैं गीत जब उसको मिलती है आदित्य को, वो बोलती है, हम ना पहाड़ों में जाके सेटल होंगे, something like that.
Yeah.
And then if you see in Highway, वो how they go into the mountains and they want to settle there. And then in Laila Majnu, which was written by Imtiaz Ali, वो बोलते हैं फिर से कि मेरे को पहाड़ों में जाके घर बनाना है. So you see, this is a conscious pattern that he's repeating. So that, like he might, I feel like this is sort of intended or there, but one off shot could be accidental. So, but ultimately, as you rightly said, how you see the film, if you picked it up, it's your interpretation at the end of the day. As long as you can justify, how you saw it or why you saw it, I think it's okay. It's absolutely okay.
Yeah, I see that many directors, you said that Imtiaz Ali has fascination with mountains. There's like Zoya Akhtar.
Right,
She's a fascination with rich people who are messed
right,
up in their life.
right,
Every movie, it is the same. The rich people, like Luck by Chance, the rich actors over there who messed up in their life. Then there's ZNMD, obviously, three of them super rich, messed up in life. So I think even Sanjay Leela Bhansali has some kind of reputation in his direction. If you see this movie is Sanjay Leela Bhansali, you can see by direction.
right,
Right?
right.
You can see. So you think that like all the directors, they repeat their scenes somewhere around that. Oh, I did this in this film, or is it from the subconscious कि ये बनाना ही है, ये film के अंदर डाल देंगे. It happens like their editing is done in such a way that you label it that this film is done by this director. You can see the work.
Right, right. I feel like, it might come to them unconsciously. I was watching this interview by Sanjay Leela Bhansali. Somebody asked him, in Devdas you had this Chandramukhi's character. In Savaria you had not Paro, Rani Mukherjee's character, who was again a prostitute. And then Gangubai Kathiawadi, you're again doing something on the sex workers. And then he said this. People ask me these things like, are these things consciously? Do you add them? He said, like, when I'm making a film, I don't remember what I did previously, but what I do is whatever comes to me at that point in time. But the human mind is such that things, they do it either consciously or unconsciously, they keep on repeating the same thing. So these patterns become so obvious. If you see in his films, there is always this scene of how he loves chandeliers. There's so beautiful chandeliers he'll add, or even the small things like there is always a scene in his film where somebody touches their feet. So if you remember Hum Dil De Ke Sanam, Aishwarya Rai touches Ajay Devgan's feet when she's going to meet Sameer. And then the same thing is in Bajirao Mastani, when Mastani comes and meets Bajirao at the dance, before that dance thing. Even Padmavat had this scene, and even Gangubai Kathiawadi, which I just put it. Alia Bhatt. I've not seen the film yet, but in the trailer, she goes and touches Ajay Devgan's feet. You still see he's like, it might not come to him. Maybe he likes this thing on his own. So you can see it, like it's all present in different films. Even Shakun Batra, all three films.
Yeah.
Parents, how parents play a role in the lives of kids. That is visible in his films. So they might do it consciously or unconsciously, but at least as viewers, we can see it.
So I do have a personal question regarding
Right.
these two directors. One is Vishal Bhardwaj and another is Shujit Sarkar. Is there any pattern that you see in their films?
So Vishal Bhardwaj is, if you see his women characters, they're very fascinating. Firstly, there are two things I've seen I've written this also in my blog. One, there is always a political element in Vishal Bhardwaj's film. Like, for example, Omkara had the caste angle a little bit. Uh, and then in Heather, there was this Kashmir angle. In Saath Khoon Maaf, again, Irfan Khan's character was, Babri Masjid demolition. He spoke about it. And then he made Matruki Bijli Ka Mandola, which was about, the land scam, which at that point, Robert Wadra's scam were occurring 2011. And then he made this film Pataka, which again had Modi and Trump in one scene at the end, and how basically the film was a satire on India-Pakistan rivalry. Like the two warring sisters are just like India and Pakistan. He gave
Mm.
enough hints there. And then even his most like Rangoon, how it was story of the rebels. One is this more. This is more like a political element. But if you see his women characters, especially the Shakespeare ones like Tabu in Makbul, Karina in Omkara, and then um,
Tabu
Tabu
in
again in
Heather.
Heather, how these women are not like, his characters are never like, he sows like the doubt in the mind of the hero. So in Makbul, uh, the Irfan Khan's character is always wondering, is Tabu his child, like Tabu is carrying, is his own or is his father's? He's putting this doubt in the mind of uh, the hero. And same thing happens in Omkara, like
Mm.
how Karina Kapoor, he starts wondering like, oh, she's having an affair with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing happens in Heather, where Heather is not able to decide how his mother, is she on his side or was she the one who killed his father. And there is this very beautiful scene where she comes in their house and Heather says, Uska Tabu ka na, you can see the face in the mirror and her has two pictures of her, and वो आके बोलता है Heather, दो चेहरे हैं आपके. So that is again, he's trying to put doubt, how his women characters, he are never really, you keep on wondering, whose side they are on. And of course then there are small things, like there is always a scene in his film where um a mirror, a lover sitting in front of the mirror, like Tabu and Irfan or Heather scene as well. In Kamine also there was this scene. So I've put that screenshot in my reading film page where mirrors make a constant appearance in his films, and also like there are a few other small things, but yes, this is for Vishal Bhardwaj. Shujit Sirkar, I felt like one is that firstly, Shujit Sirkar's films always have something to do with location. He always films on location. Like he never creates sets. So if you see even Sardar Udham, that I'm giving a spoiler. So if he goes on Russia, he actually shot this film in Russia. He's actually shot in London. Same thing in Gulabo Sitabo. He's shot in Lucknow, in Delhi, and even Madras Cafe. Of course, they didn't get permissions for Sri Lanka, but they created in Thailand. Like how he shoots the film, because for him location is a big thing. And then of course there are some other small things, like bodily fluids. So Vicky Donor had the semen thing, and then in October, in Piku it was the shit, and
Yeah.
then in this October, how there's a scene of in the hospital there is the urine bag and all.
Yeah.
How he's fascinated with these these kind of things. That was, I think, more a Juhi Chaturvedi thing, like how the writer brought that film to because of the writer is the same for all these three things. And then even small things. Sometimes I think, I don't know if it's intended or not, like that chair scene in Piku, how they used to carry that chair scene. The same thing happens in Gulabo Sitabo in the end, where Amitabh takes his chair, end में उसको chair
Yeah.
साथ ले जाते हैं. So again, uh, you can see these in every filmmakers if you consciously try to see. Again, it comes down to whether it's intended or non-intended, but patterns, yes, of course, are visible.
I mean, films like
Yeah.
you said this about October. तो फिल्म्स लाइक अक्टूबर मतलब उसमें ऐसा होता है कि बहुत ही कम डायलॉग्स हैं और सबसे फैसिनेटेड अगर मैं किसी फिल्म से हूं तो अक्टूबर, क्योंकि दैट वाज द फर्स्ट फिल्म आफ्टर व्हिच आई थॉट ऑफ राइटिंग अबाउट फिल्म्स और अबाउट द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ वाचिंग फिल्म लाइक अक्टूबर. तो ऐसी फिल्में होती है जहां पर आपको सेंस ज्यादा करना पड़ता है, आपको जैसे आप क्लूज
Right.
पिक करते हो वो ज्यादा करना पड़ता है, डायलॉग्स बहुत ही कम है. तो वैसी फिल्मों से आपको मतलब ऐसी फिल्में आप ज्यादा देखना पसंद करते हो जहां पर आपको मैक्सिमम आपको खुद से सोचना पड़े या फिर आपको इंटरप्रेट करना पड़े कि क्या मतलब हो सकता है यहाँ पर, क्यों, क्योंकि वहां पर जो लव स्टोरी दिखाई है वो नॉर्मल नहीं, कॉमन, मतलब हर रोज नहीं होती, मतलब हर एक के साथ नहीं
Right.
होती.
Right.
तो वो लोगों को जल्दी दिमाग में मतलब वो कॉम्प्रिहेंड नहीं कर पाते एज अ नॉर्मल यूजर, कि एज अ नॉर्मल मूवी वॉचर. तो आप ऐसी फिल्मों को कैसे प्रोसेस करते हैं?
Right. So, मुझे like पहले क्या होता था, like I would like if some director actually explains the things, but once you grow up a little bit, you are even comfortable with silences, like like maybe 10 years ago I would like films, कि I don't like open endings वाली films, जिसमें कुछ like I want a definite ending, like Lunchbox का जो ending था, it's very open ended. So I was like, okay, no, I wanted a closed ending. Tell me what happened. But of late, like it's been 4 5 years, I'm absolutely okay with silences, and and that actually, as you said, gives more to think about it. Like again, because the director is himself telling you, it's open to you how you want to take it up. And again, Shujish Sarkar, October, he never said it's a love story or it's this. He
Yeah.
just said it's a story about love,
Love.
and you can just take it either way. So it's now it's absolutely I'm fine with them, but yes, it just gives a lot more to think about it. The only thing I have is I just don't want the film to be boring. There is a very sometimes
Fine
don't
line.
make it too like too subtle that it just gets boring. Like dull lighting and like nothing is happening. Like you just feel like give me something, something exciting. Like October at least had the colors and the Delhi theme, and then very meditative film. But there's some films you watch with so much excitement and it's just so dull and boring. So that's the kind of films which I don't enjoy that much.
Yeah, most of the filmmakers think that like art films, so they would be
Right,
dull and boring.
right,
But actually, it should be somewhere that, like for example, Aligarh was not watched by many people, right?
right. But it
But
was very good.
it was
Right,
very good. Like there was a scene. He said that films which don't have more much dialogues. Aligarh was one of that, right?
right, right,
Because Manoj Bajpayee, just by his acting, there was one scene he was just sitting there and the music
right,
was playing and he
right.
was just doing something. He was so messed up from inside, but he had to show that. And director didn't say cut. he
Exactly.
said he said he didn't say cut. He was waiting for cut, and he was just doing the actions, and that was realistically shot because
Right.
he was so in character. So all these films are made in such a way that if there is 19-20, it can just go to a different level and become
Right.
dull, right? Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Matlab, there's this fine line between creating art and then
Yeah.
making it so boring, so dull that people,
Yeah.
even the director, would not allow to watch that film.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Yeah. So this is what it is like in Hindi films right now. People are saying that Hindi films are not being made as they were made before, or are they going into another new level of making films? So what do you think about that? Because and when you read films, is there any difference in the films that were considered good, but now you see those films again and you see yeah, ye to cringe hai, right?
Right.
Something like that. These scenes are cringe, and people just like abhi ke films, they are made more realistically, but there are a few films which still are cringe in Hindi film. So the storytelling just goes in another direction. Like what trailer shows us, and then the movie, how it is portrayed, is completely different, and people are disappointed every time. So ये चीज आपने मतलब आप इसमें flaws ढूंढते हैं कि हिंदी
Uh, yeah. So, you asked about the quality of films. Firstly, I do feel that in the last, maybe it was pandemic or what, just 2, 3 years, there've been very few memorable films, that just were really good, like really, really good. Yes, they were good films, but like maybe I won't watch them again. Those sort of things. So I do feel that there is definitely some sort of struggle that the industry is facing in terms of what works. But thankfully, in the last month itself, there have been very good films that have come out, which makes me a little bit, positive. Like, Gehraiya was good. Then Gangubai came. Then Jund had good reviews, and I think yesterday Jalsa is getting all these good reviews. I have not seen except Gehraiya any of these films, but it's I could see like at least the quality of them has improved as compared to last year. I was just really struggling to put out my 5 best films of the year. So I think if you look back something like 2012 or 2015, there were so many good films. Like there was Gangs of Wasipur, there was Dil Dhadakne Do, there was Piku, and there was Tamasha. 2015 had so many good films. So, and memorable films, and just so many memorable scenes and characters. But of late, either one is this whole remake concept, which I just don't like this remake films. Secondly, this whole biopic fascination.
yeah.
And then, just a very they're just not making the heartfelt films. I feel like they're just becoming too westernized, which is fine. Like Shakun Batra is that filmmaker, but he does that well. But there is nobody who's making that good old masala film, that sort of a film. There's Akshay Kumar, whose films are not really, again, not as good as they used to be, like something like Namaste London or Hera Fairy. There was some very good films he's done, but he's again, seems like an autopilot. So I just feel that yes, there is definitely both a change in the kind of films they are making, and even the audience has moved on with this OTT. They don't accept these lax standards because you see the South industry, Malayalam films are doing so well. Like this superhero came in, Meenal Murali, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
So
Milal Murali.
many
Yeah,
Malayalam film is just taking the lead in this. Even Tamil films, Sarpata, Parambai,
yeah, it was very
these
good.
sort like then Kala, Kala, I think Kala was the film with Rajnikant and who's that filmmaker, right? Uh, but again, like, so industry is going through a phase, but I hope they do come out of it, because I like to watch, the kind of films, as I said, like, I don't mind any kind of film, but as long as, there's something worth watching, like such beautiful scene or a song or something nice about it, you remember a subject issue. But last year it was just so disappointing. You were just struggling to, pick up even 5 films. And I don't know what has happened. This whole boycott Bollywood movement, and it just makes it more negative. Like what are we watching films for? So I hope that things do get better. And somebody like Sanjay Leela Bhansali, he's one of the last filmmakers I feel who's doing that, that Indian sort of a film. Like, he's a very different sensibility, while others are chasing more, very different kind of issues, which is, as I said, I don't mind those, but just make, if even if you're making those kind of things, just make it memorable, something worth holding on to, like something nice about it. Like War was a good film, like, it was so different and so masala wise, also it's such a big scale. Yes, it might not be like, great filmmaking, but at least it was fun, those kind of films. So I hope that industry gets back to doing what they really do. So yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
you said this about Malayalam industry
Yeah.
and South Indian film industry. So do you also watch films and read those films which are not of Indian film industry and of from Hollywood or from any other industry? Do you watch such films and do you try to write about these movies?
So I watch them, but I don't necessarily write on everything or a lot of them. Firstly, because you see, like, I feel like I don't have the context. Like for Hindi films, you've grown up. Like, I've seen all the filmmakers' work. I remember what they've seen. What will happen in those usually happens is I would rely on Google search what this filmmaker did earlier. So which doesn't give me that much joy, but I still do write on, if just basis on that film, if I see something interesting. So like the last English review that I wrote was like last year on Call Me by Your Name, which was again like a very small film that just came out, which I really liked about it. Like, very beautifully it was made. Or even like I wrote something on Antaheen. There's a 2010 Bengali film. So I do write occasionally, but I won't say that I actively, consciously or actively try to write about them, because I feel like, I don't have that entire historical context or even the actors' journey and this. But Hindi films, since we have grown up, so I can understand, better. Even I know the industry better. Okay, I know Sanjay Leela Bhansali is this kind of a filmmaker, but for Malayalam, which I have not actively followed, I just know the famous people like Mohanlal and those sort of things. But again, like there is still something interesting, like Premam. Premam was a very beautiful film. I would just write something on it, but not necessarily like a full blog post or like, yeah, that kind of a thing.
yeah, that's great. Because I also like to watch Bollywood films. I've grown up watching them, so you can relate to them. So that's what it is. Like
Absolutely.
any film that you watch, you should relate to them. Like even in
Right.
Hollywood films, we watch whenever we watch. We try to watch films that relate to us.
Right.
Characters can relate to us. We watch the film and we are in the film. Sometimes it
Right.
feels like that.
Right. Right.
That's something which when I watch film, I like to do that.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
about other people, but
बट
I like to
पर
do that. Yeah.
अगर भले ही मतलब हम रिलेटिबिलिटी के फैक्टर को हमेशा कंसिडर करते हैं और बॉलीवुड क्योंकि हम यहाँ पर है और हम यहाँ से मतलब यही चीजें देखकर बड़े हुए तो वो तो रहेगा कि हॉलीवुड की फिल्में हम ज्यादा रिलेट नहीं कर पाएंगे लेकिन ये चीज हमेशा रहती है कि वहां पर डायरेक्टर्स ज्यादा ब्रेव है मतलब एक्सपेरिमेंट
Hmm.
करने के लिए
Hmm.
कि वो लोग
Right.
ऐसे
Yeah.
रियलिस्टिक मूवीज बना सकते हैं जैसे 3 बिलबोर्ड्स आउटसाइड एबिंग फिर इनटू द
Ebbing.
वाइल्ड ऐसी फिल्में होती है जो बहुत ही रियलिस्टिक लगती है आपको वैसा अगर इंडियन ऑडियंस वैसी फिल्म देखने जाएंगी, लेकिन इंडियन
Yeah,
फिल्म
they,
डायरेक्टर ऐसा कभी बना नहीं पाएगा, क्योंकि इंडियन ऑडियंस तब नहीं
right,
देखने जाएगी.
right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely right.
तो
Yeah.
जैसे आपने दिल चाहता है पर एक पूरी बुक लिखी, अगर इफ यू वांट टू राइट, इफ यू हैव टू राइट अबाउट एनी अदर फिल्म that you have watched in your lifetime, what that film would be?
Um, okay, this is a difficult one because I felt like I only had one book in me, like Dil Chahta Hai. But as I said, I feel like I have watched all the best films I wanted to see. That's the fear I have. Even if I watch like very good films now, somehow I still keep going back to those older films. But let's say if I have to write, about another film, I would rather choose the work of one director. I would write on all films of Sanjay Leela Bhansali. He's just so magnificent. I would write maybe perhaps on Devdas. Devdas is a beautiful film, or basically just his entire work I could write. And then if I had another book, like a film, just film, I would choose um, Luck by Chance. Luck by Chance is a very beautiful film. I think like there's so much to see in that film. Either Luck by Chance or Kal Ho Na Ho. Either of these two.
Both of the movies I like.
Right. They're so good. They're so good. Like, yeah. And again, I saw them like, Kal Ho Na Ho at the same time and Dil Chahta Hai around the same time. But Luck by Chance is just so beautiful. I can talk about it for hours. Like it's so much meta commentary in that film and very well made about the industry. It's just fascinating, and those little things that they've added in that film, and very heartbreaking at times. So very beautiful.
One thing I liked about Luck by Chance वो गाना है सपनों से भरे नैना, when he
Right,
goes for the
right,
audition
right,
and you
right,
see just Farhan Akhtar just acting in that, no dialogue, nothing, but you feel the
right,
tension in him. Like first time
right,
he's going for audition and then he's helping, seeing other people.
right,
They're
right,
better people than me actually.
right, right,
Who are,
right.
yeah, who am I?
And
Yeah,
you since you spoke about, I still remember उसमें एक scene है उसके साथ में जो बंदा बैठता है वो बोलता है कि आप मेरा फॉर्म भर सकते हो.
yeah,
He
that's
doesn't
correct.
know in English, like he can't read English, and his shoe is broken, so they also show कि उसका ना वो है, and he's actually the best performer. जब वो audition देता है वो बंदा, he's the best one among बाकी सबका वो जो caricaturist दिखा देते हैं, but that person who asked for help, but maybe perhaps he wasn't good looking or whatever you may be, he doesn't get selected. So yeah, it's just so good, that song and like even that film, how he basically tries to play to that insecurity of that other guy, jo
Yeah,
select hota hai. And that scene at the party, like how he
yeah, that's
then
correct. Yeah,
meets that Dimple Kapadia, I'm in this world because of you. And then because he took chances, and then that's the same reason he got the film, because she remembered him at the party.
Yes.
So it's so beautiful, how luck happens to people who take chances in life, and that's how it's luck by chance.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
वो
correct.
मतलब वो
Yeah.
फिल्म जितनी बार देखो ना, मतलब मुझे लगता है
You
कि
learn something new.
एक्सेल एंटरटेनमेंट से जो भी फिल्म निकलती है ना, वो आप बार बार देख सकते हो.
Right.
वैसी फिल्म बनाते हैं वो लोग कि
Yeah.
आप कोई
Right.
भी अक्रॉस जनरेशंस, अगर फिर हम 2001 में अगर दिल चाहता है आई है, 2022 में भी अगर आप देखेंगे तो उतना ही फ्रेश लगेगा, ऐसा नहीं लगेगा कि
Right.
बोरिंग है कुछ भी.
Right. Exactly. So it there like that Dil Chahta was nothing. I didn't feel it aged badly. There's some films which you watch now, you feel like, okay, this is
Cringe.
weird. Yeah, like I can't watch this film. Yeah, and sometimes that's why I don't rewatch certain films, because you will no longer like them, because how did you like this film at that point? Like Kaho Na Pyar Hai. If I
Yeah,
watch it
exactly.
now, like I would not like it, but at that point, I just loved it. But if I haven't watched it again, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. So that's the thing. At least so some of their films haven't aged as badly as some of the other, big films. So.
So is there any
The-
guilty
the-
pleasure movie that you watch that
Yeah.
you fall back on?
So, I mean, I like as I said, I keep on watching all these films, but guilty pleasure would be there's no like I have like I keep on watching all sorts of films. So like I like sometimes when I'm bored, as I said, I would watch Dil Chahta Hai, or uh, there are 2 3 films which might not be as well liked by others, but I love them. It's like I watched Meri Pyari Bindu a lot, which is very beautifully made. Then there is Aisha. Aisha was Sonam
Yeah.
Kapoor's film. I really like it somehow. And then like, yeah, so I can't think of anything right now, but I watch all sorts of my favorite films whenever I'm feeling having like okay, I
It-
watch Luck by Chance every 2 3 months because it's just so
Wow.
beautifully done.
वही गिल्टी प्लेजर से मुझे एक ही फिल्म याद आती है, कभी खुशी कभी गम.
Yeah. That's it. And it's good. I like Kabhi Khushi and Gum is a
It's
good film. I like it.
yeah, it was good, but like कभी हम लोग देखे बोले यार how we
Yeah,
like this film, but
It's
still
also cringeworthy. It's
still
also
yeah.
cringeworthy.
cringeworthy, but yeah.
Somehow I feel कुछ होता है is I think now more cringeworthy for me. But Kabhi Khushi and Gum I can still tolerate it. I mean, it's still good. But Kal Ho Na Ho is obviously great. I don't find it cringe. It's great. But I think Karan Johar's best film for me is still Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna.
Yeah,
it's
it was
most
quite good.
grounded film,
Right.
grounded film, nothing over the top.
It's very nice film.
That's
Yeah.
very nice.
So I think
Also,
yeah, Pallav, you can.
yeah, no, Luck by Chance. I just wanted to recall it. So there was the last scene in Luck by Chance. Last scene, it was in party. He went with his school friends in a restaurant, and then he saw Shah Rukh Khan over there. And then he went down to talk to them, and then his friends just were waiting for him, and then they just left. And Shah Rukh Khan then said something, which is बड़ी मुझे अच्छी लगी, that like you can relate when you want to become big, when you try to become big or you become something in life, you try to make new friends and then you forget the old ones because they are nothing in their life, right? So वो चीज उन्होंने बोली थी, वो बहुत अच्छी लगी थी मुझे कि यार जितना भी बड़ा बन जाओ, but
Right.
they were the ones when you were nothing, they were with you, right? So
I think that's just the best scene of film. In fact, one of my favorite Shah Rukh films is Shah Rukh scenes is that उन्हें मत भूलो जो तुम्हें तब जानते थे जब तुम
जब तुम
कुछ
कुछ
नहीं
भी
थे,
नहीं थे.
because
yeah,
यही है जो तुम्हें हमेशा सच बोलेंगे. And
yeah.
this thing, if you watched Gully Boy, she's again added so many parallels between Luck by Chance and Gully Boy. So how he goes back to Safina, Murad goes to Safina because she was there when nobody was with him. And he says something again, which is very similar to what Shah Rukh said, Tujhe jo, like, I will be there. But when he was again doing that thing, he was roaming around with Kalki's character Sky, and, he's forgotten Safina, but he goes back and he apologizes. Something similar what Shah Rukh had said. And then again, in that film, uh, uh, he says, like, Ranveer's character says to his father, like, he कोई दूसरा मुझे बताएगा कि मुझे क्या बनना है. And then the same thing had happened in Luck by Chance when Vikram tells Konkona कि are you letting some other guy decide your fate? तुम उसकी फिल्म करने आई थी या फिल्म स्टार बनने? So you could see again parallels between again how dreams, Luck by Chance is also a lot about dreams and Gully Boy. So yeah, it's again like it's beautiful Gully Boy, and I really like Gully Boy also.
आई थिंक हमें आपको रिकरिंग गेस्ट के तौर पर बार-बार बुलाना पड़ेगा. There is a lot to talk about films. There is a lot to
Yeah, it's endless, right? It's endless.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
endless. Yeah.
Yeah, the because we can talk about various, we can even make a whole episode on Kal Ho Na Ho or Kabhi Alvida Na
Right.
Kehna or even Karan Johar films. There is a lot to talk about.
Right, absolutely.
But at this point of time, I think we can conclude this episode because you do have a lot of things to do, and it has been one of the finest and crisp episodes of All Fingers and Thumbs, and we are quite delighted that we could discuss films with you. And thank you very much for joining us.
No, and thank you so much both, Jainish and Pallav. It was really nice to speak to both of you, and like I was a little nervous before joining because I've not gone on these kind of podcasts a lot before, but you just made so comfortable. So really appreciate it. I really enjoyed speaking to both of you. So thank you so much for calling me.
Yeah, thank you,
Uh,
Pankaj. Yeah.
Thank you to, I mean, to all the viewers and listeners. Do follow his blog page under his name Pankaj Sachdeva on WordPress, right? And you can also follow him on Twitter and Instagram under the names of Reading Films on Insta. All the handles of his are given in the on your screen and as well as in the description. So you do follow him, and you can get more intrigued by the films that you watch on a daily basis. And you can make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this episode, and share this with as many people as possible. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you both of you.